So do you remember the whole thing about men and the Roman Empire? When women started asking their boyfriends, husbands, brothers, fathers, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? And the answers were not never, which is what we were expecting, but it was more like 3 times a week or every day or whenever I see a road, which was eye-opening to us women because suddenly we discovered that men were casually walking around Tesco's thinking about Marcus Aurelius. But I think we have found the 2026 version because I don't think the men are just thinking about the Roman Empire anymore. I think they're thinking about the Crusades. And before anyone panics, no, I'm not saying that your boyfriend is secretly planning to ride to Jerusalem on a horse. Although, maybe just check his YouTube history just in case. Because something has definitely changed in Britain 2026. And somewhere in this country, a man who owns 3/4 zips is privately wondering whether he would have survived the Crusades. Because a few years ago, the male daydream was Rome, empire, roads, conquest, order, legacy. A world built by men who never had to hear the phrase, circle back. And now, there's this wider obsession with the Middle Ages. The Telegraph wrote this article over the weekend about why young people are obsessed with the Middle Ages, jousts and castles and reenactments, chainmail having its moment. I don't think this is because everyone woke up and thought, do you know what would fix me? A muddy field and a man with a lance. Although depending on the man, I'm listening. Because the moment modern life starts to feel too ugly, too technological, too soulless, people inevitably start looking backwards. Not because the past was actually better. Let's be sensible here. Nobody is longing for plague and toothache and dying at 31 because someone sneezed aggressively near the well. We are not doing plague core. But people are longing for what the past represents. Beauty and ritual, romance, faith, purpose, a life with a story, a country that is both worth defending and being a part of. Because nobody's really homesick for feudalism, let's just be clear. They're homesick for the enchantment of it. And honestly, who can blame them? Look at what modern life gives us. You wake up, you check your phone, you are immediately informed that the world is ending. Someone from school is engaged, your bank is judging you, and a woman from America called Madison has a slow morning routine in a kitchen that is larger than any home you will ever be in. Then you go to work and everyone speaks in corporate hostage language. Touch base, action points. Let's park that. No. Let's not park that. Let's never park that. Let's send it to the tower. And then dating is somehow worse, if you even date, because once upon a time, allegedly, men pledged devotion under balconies, they crossed battlefields, they slayed dragons, and now he won't cross a battlefield, but he will cross London for the wrong woman.
I was rooting for you! We were all rooting for you! How dare you!
Rome did not collapse for this world. And yes, I know that medieval romance is completely idealized, it's completely fictionalized. That's kind of the point. People are not longing for historical accuracy. They're longing for an atmosphere, a world where love felt dramatic, where loyalty meant something, where beauty wasn't embarrassing, where men looked like they might defend a gate, not apologize to a podcast microphone. And this feeling is not new because if, like me, you love your art history, then you'll know about the pre-Raphaelites doing exactly this. Because they looked at industrial Britain, the factories, the smoke, the mass production. They said, no thank you. Bring me knights, bring me maidens, bring me saints, flowers, tragic lovers, velvet-sleeved, illuminated manuscripts, golden hair tumbling down to the waist, and men suffering beautifully beside a river.
But I can't help it that I'm popular.
They too went back to the medieval imagination, not because the Middle Ages were perfect, but because their own age felt like it had lost something. They weren't trying to recreate it exactly. They were escaping from their own world. And it keeps happening. History keeps repeating itself time and time again. Every time modernity gets a bit too modern, people wander off and start romanticizing the past because modernity makes one very, very stupid assumption. It assumes that comfort is enough. That if people have convenience and technology and entertainment and 47 types of oat milk, that they'll stop needing meaning. But they don't. People don't just need efficiency. They need beauty and ritual and something that feels like it matters. They need to feel like their life is part of a grander story. Because medieval world, or at least the fantasy of it, gives people what the modern world keeps stripping away. Men get honour and battle, brotherhood, duty, and a cause. Women get romance and mystery, beauty, devotion, and longing that feels almost theatrical. And I know that sounds very, very gendered, but I think that is part of why this is happening. Because modern culture has spent years flattening and reducing everything. The differences between men and women, beauty into utility, tradition into oppression, romance for both sexes into unrealistic expectations, faith into something you're kind of ashamed about, credible grand architecture into grey glass boxes where hope goes to die. And then we act shocked when people start dressing like they've been summoned to a banquet. What did you think was going to happen? You can't take away beauty and then mock people who are searching for it. We can't take away the ritual and then laugh when people reinvent it. And you cannot tell men that masculinity is dangerous, then be surprised when they become fascinated by knights. You can't tell women that romance is silly and then be surprised when they look at a pre-Raphaelite painting and think, I would give anything for that kind of love. Because the thing with nostalgia is that it isn't always about the past. Sometimes it's criticism of the present. And when a generation starts craving castles and candlelight and craftsmanship and courtly love, I think it's just because they want modern life to have a soul again. They want buildings that make you feel inspired and relationships that feel binding and fated and communities that aren't just a group chat who you're lucky to see once a year. Men who can be brave without being called toxic, women who can be feminine without being called regressive, a culture that says that beauty matters. So yes, men fantasized about the Roman Empire, and maybe now they have the Crusades. But I think the rest of us have the medieval dream too. Not because we want the plague, let's not be insane. But because somewhere beneath the castles and the gowns, the knights and the candlelight, there's a very modern dream of mattering. Obviously, none of us want to go backwards. We just don't want the present to feel empty. And honestly, maybe the strangest part in all of this is that people aren't escaping into the past. It's that the present isn't giving them any reason to stay. As always, let me know what you think below. I mean, why do you think people are becoming obsessed with the Middle Ages? Why do you think people were obsessing over the Roman Empire? Have you ever been to anything like one of these medieval events? I personally haven't been. I've never been to a historical reenactment in this country. Although I don't know why, given that every corner of this country, I bet there's not one acre in this country that hasn't seen a historical something happen to it. So I probably should go to some of them. But yeah, do let me know what you think below. I really, really value your opinion. And do think you are giving me a like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.